Hi there, thanks for joining today's admin training. We're going to get started here in just a minute, so just go ahead and hang tight and we will start shortly. Alrighty, hi everyone. Thank you for joining today's SkySlope training for admin. I'm excited to introduce you to SkySlope, your new paperless platform. We're going to go through a couple of things today, but I just wanted to let you all know that at this time, number one, today's training is being recorded, so everybody is muted just to really ensure a nice, clean, and crisp audio connection. However, there will be opportunities to ask questions through our Q&A feature below, and I'll get to those more towards the end of the training. So if you have any questions throughout today's training, please use the Q&A feature, chat that in. If you don't see the Q&A, you might have a chat box. Either way works. Go ahead and chat that in, and I'll get to those again more towards the end of today's training. So in case you're wondering who you're speaking with, some of you may already know, but my name is Megan. I'm an account manager here at SkySlope. You can see some fun facts about me on the screen, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm a real human being walking you through today's training. This is what I look like. My webcam is off, which is probably the best for everyone in this scenario. But yeah, this is me. We're gonna go over some admin side SkySlope tips and tricks and also training today. So my role here today is really just to get everyone trained and confident within the SkySlope platform. During this transition, like I said, feel free to ask me any questions using that Q&A or the chat feature. However, moving forward, if you have any questions that need more of an immediate answer, we do have an amazing support team here at SkySlope. I'll show you guys how you can get in contact with them, but they're here every single day, including weekends. And when you chat in, you'll actually get a 10-second response time from a live human being here in Sacramento, California. So you're not getting anyone outsourced, you're not getting a robot or anything like that. Once you're in a chat, you can request to call them and they'll answer on the second ring. So again, you have to chat in first and then you can call them, they'll answer on the second ring. If you want to send an email, that's a bit of a slower response with a 20-minute email response time. So that's support, and again, I'll show you how to get in contact with them. They're sort of your first line of defense. Okay, so what are we going to cover today? Like I said, today we're focusing more on the admin side of SkySlope. So first I'm going to show you a little bit of the agent side by showing you how the agents enter in their property data and how they turn in their documents. So that's kind of what we cover in agent training, which we can talk about after admin training. But once the agents complete these two steps, that leads us into your role as an admin. So this is a different workflow, and I like to break it down into more 3 simple steps. which is the first being approving documents. So approving those documents that the agents or TCs or whomever have uploaded into the system. The second being closing files when it is time to do so. And then the third being archiving those files, kind of tucking them away for storage. That way we can access historical data later on, but it's not sort of clogging up our dashboard. Okay, so these are the 3 steps I'm going to cover today. And again, if you have any questions moving forward, please, please, please use that Q&A feature and chat those in, type those in, whatever it may be. Alrighty, so I'm just going to dive right into my SkySlope demo account. So again, this is my demo account. Yours is going to be a little different. So if you haven't logged in already, you will see your logo up here instead of the SkySlope logo. This is also your home button. So if you're ever lost within the slopes of SkySlope and you don't know how you got here, you just want to get out and get back home, go ahead and click on your logo and it'll take you back to this home page. Probably the most important icon within the entire platform, and if you take away honestly anything from this training, it's how to reach out to support for immediate assistance or any urgent requests that need to be answered. So how you get in touch with support is by clicking on this person with the headset right here. So right next to this printer button, there's this person with the headset, so I'm going to click on that. So clicking that icon took me to a new tab, and now I'm at the support center. Once I'm at the support center, I'll see that I can chat with support right here. You do have to enter your name and your email and then your question. That way, if you get disconnected, they can follow up with you, and they'll follow up with you after your chat is done and give you a transcript of everything that you guys talked about. Again, chat first, and then you can start a call. There's a bunch of other resources on the support page other than just chatting into support right here. So you can actually search for something specific. So for example, if I want to learn more about DigiSign, which is SkySlope's digital signature tool, which we won't go into really in depth today. We do go into that more in depth during agent training. But if I want to learn more about that, I can come to the support page, I can type this in, and there's a bunch of great resources and articles and tutorials on it here. If I have any suggestions on how we can make the platform better, how we can make SkySlope better for you, feel free to post an idea right here. And this feature suggestion goes directly to our product team. And that's how they monitor sort of what's going to be on the roadmap and what enhancements we're going to make to the platform is based on customer suggestions. So go ahead and post an idea here. We also have this tutorial center down here. So you'll see a few different options for admin, agent, DigiSign, getting started just in general. And again, you can always just chat into support right here. So once again, if you're still having any issues, don't hesitate to reach out and ask our support team because they are here to help. Alrighty, so I'm going to exit out of that page. Again, I got to support just by clicking on this icon right here of the person with the headset. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you in the actual SkySlope platform is this stat bar up here. So this is going to show sort of your brokerage activity at a glance. If you have multiple offices or add multiple offices in the future, you'll see that here. So you can always select a specific office to look at if you'd like, or just keep your visibility in the all office, which is sort of like a super user office where you'll see everything that's happening with everyone at once. Okay, so I'm going to show you a small bit of the agent process by pulling up an active listing, and then we'll kind of go into more of the admin side of things. Again, if you have any questions throughout the duration of today's training, please use that Q&A feature, and I will get to those as we go along and towards the end of today's training. Okay, so pulling up a listing, I'm going to come over here into Manage Listings. So manage listing and manage transactions, these two icons here is where you will find all of the property files that the agents or the transaction coordinators or whomever has created. So they'll live here. A listing means that it's not in sale yet. And then a transaction just means that it's a pending sale. Maybe it's about to close. So the difference here is I don't have a buyer versus I do have a buyer. And again, we go into more depth on this during agent training, but I just wanted to let you guys know up front the difference between a listing and a transaction in SkySlope. So I'm going to pull up a listing by clicking on Manage Listings. And again, because I have admin visibility or broker visibility, I'm seeing everybody's files. If I want to, I can sort here by a specific agent or a specific office or a list date or status, whatever I want. So I'm looking for something specific. Or if I'm looking for a very specific file, I can always use this universal search bar and search for that file. And then I can go directly to it. All right, so I'm going to click and open up a listing here by just clicking on it. And this is a property file. So whenever I keep saying property file, this is what I mean. A file that contains all of the information for the property that, you know, we're either representing the seller for or representing the buyer for or both, right? All right, so these first two tabs, the listing tab and the contacts tab, this is all the information that the agents complete in their first step when they search and they verify their property data. So this has all your seller information and all your information about the property, such as the address and the price and stuff like that. So those are in these two tabs. Now the checklist. The checklist is where your agents are turning in their documents. This will look familiar within your account because it's going to be comprised of the checklist items that you determined for your brokerage. Anything in bright red for the agents will be required, and anything in this lighter blue color will be if applicable. So if we have like lead-based paint, or if we want to just add miscellaneous documents, we can always add those as if applicable items. We can always choose to attach to the checklist right here by hitting attach if we have something directly on our computer. But the most efficient way to turn in any documents we need is by using this property specific email address right here. So you can think of this as sort of like a fingerprint for the file. It is generated upon file creation. So as soon as you create a file, whether it be a listing or a transaction in SkySlope, you will get this property specific email. Any paper clips on the checklist, this means that there's a document that has been attached to this required item. So we can actually look at it from the checklist, but I'm going to show you an easier way to review in just a second here. All right, the Documents tab. This houses all the documents that pertain to this file, whether they're assigned to the checklist or not. So we're reviewing everything that has been uploaded to the checklist. The Documents tab isn't always fully executed forms, as I'll see here. You know, I have a listing packet that isn't assigned to anything. The Log tab, every property has a log tab, and this is our digital footprint of everything going on in this file. As you'll see, it's date and time stamped. It'll show who was in the file, what day, what time, what did they do in this file. So if you have TCs or anything like that, this is really good. This is why everyone needs their own login. And anything associated with this property specific email address will also end up in the log tab. So if we want to log any emails with our clients, we can always CC or BCC this property specific email, and then all of the correspondence with our clients will show here in the log tab. Lastly, we have the Tasks tab. This is just a digital sort of to-do list. So anything that we want our agents to do that isn't necessarily a document. So if it's like put up for sale sign, take pictures of property, more action items, that's where our tasks tab will come in, and we can add new tasks for the agents or for ourselves or for admin, TCs, whomever we'd like. All right, so now I'm gonna go back to manage listings because I wanna show you guys what happens if for some reason your listing falls through. So right here, you'll see you can actually withdraw this listing. So if your listing ever falls through, you can always withdraw it, and it'll just go to a different section in SkySlope called canceled contracts. So nothing ever deletes in SkySlope, it just sort of moves somewhere else. Once I get a buyer for this property, I'll hit accept contract right here. And this will convert this listing to a pending transaction. So it'll kick it over to that transaction side. Those same buttons are back in manage listings. So if I go back home and I go back to manage listings, those same two buttons show up right here. So you have them available from the checklist of each file and also within manage listings. So the cancel button is right here, withdraw listing, and the accept contract button is right here. And again, this converts the listing to a pending transaction. And I only want to click this button when I am in contract with a buyer. So when I get an offer and I accept that offer. Okay, so now we've touched a little bit on the agent side. So we're going to cover your job as admins or as people that review, whatever you refer to yourself as. So our first step as admin is to review. So where we're going to do that is over here in documents to review. Seems pretty straightforward, right? So we'll come to documents to review. We'll see our transactions up top here, our listings down below here. We can always sort if we want to filter this by a specific closing date, or maybe we want to again filter by an agent. We can always sort, and it'll sort it in that way, whichever we selected. Now our greatest resource is going to be this button right here, Quick Audit. So I'm going to click on Quick Audit. Again, I'm within Documents to Review, and now I'm just going to click on Quick Audit. Now everyone on the admin team will have access to Quick Audit. Anyone with admin or broker level access in the system will have access to this. And this is going to be, like I said, your greatest resource. So up top, we're going to see the property address. We can use this drop down to choose a specific property if we'd like. We can choose to review just transactions, just listings, or everything that needs to be reviewed. On this left-hand side, we'll actually see the checklist pending items. So this shows what the checklist currently looks like. In the center panel, we'll see the documents that have been uploaded either by our agents, our TCs, our assistants. On the right-hand side, I'll see any property details. So this one actually is a canceled file. So even canceled files, if they haven't been reviewed, will still show up in Quick Audit because we need to review everything, right? So again, I can just select whichever property I want to see. I'm trying to find a good one for you guys because again, this is a demo environment. So sometimes the documents are a little funky in here. Okay, cool. So how do I actually review this document? So I can select the property I want to review from this dropdown. And then all I need to do is look at this document and review it. So I can scroll through and look at it. If all is good, everything looks good, I'll go ahead and hit this accept button, this green button right here. What this is saying is this document is good. It doesn't need any changes. I'm going to accept it. So I'm going to hit accept, and you'll see that it changed from a red pending status to a green completed status here. Now, that automatically takes me down to the next checklist pending item. This happens to be the seller advisory, so I'm just going to look through it. And let's say this one I don't think is fully compliant. I'm going to reject it instead of accepting it. So I'll hit this red reject button. And SkySlope is going to ask me, why am I rejecting this item? So this is where I'm going to leave a comment, which my agent and or my TC, whoever has access to this file, will see. So I'm just going to say this is missing initials, and I'm going to save this comment. And again, that changed the status from pending, and now it shows as incomplete because I rejected it, right? Again, it takes me down to the next pending item on the checklist, which I can either accept if it's good to go or reject if it still needs some work. I'm going to say that this one's all good, and I'm going to hit this green accept button. Cool. So now that I've reviewed everything on this particular file, I'm now done reviewing this file. So once I'm done, if I want to update the agent on my changes that I've made and that I've actually reviewed this file, then I can simply hit this update agent button right here. So I'm going to hit update agent. I'll see you have successfully updated the agent. Now you might be wondering, okay, well, what does that do? Why would I even want to hit this button? What is the purpose of that? So when you hit this update agent button, whoever's on the file gets a status email sent directly to them. And it looks something like this. So they'll get an email from SkySlope. It'll have the property address in the subject line. And then it'll show a snapshot of the checklist down below. So everything you accepted will show as green and complete, and the agent will know, cool, I don't have anything to work on. Anything you rejected will show as incomplete. And any comments that you left will show right here. So this really streamlines the communication between the agents and admin/broker. So this makes it really quick and efficient for you guys to review files, because you just have to hit update agent. You don't have to go in and text the agent or send them an email or, get up from your desk and say, hey, this is done, I need X, Y, and Z. You can just hit update agent, and they'll automatically get an email from SkySlope, and they'll know what they need to work on. Okay, so that completes our first step as admin, which is reviewing our files. Again, if you have any questions, use the Q&A feature and type those in. So that was our first step, reviewing files. I just go through, select what I want, and I hit accept or reject and leave my comments and hit update agent when I'm done. Now going back, I'm going to go back home. So our first step as admin happened over here in documents to review using Quick Audit. So now we're going to move on to our second and third steps, which are closing and archiving files. And that happens over here in managed transactions, because remember, transactions is where my actual pending sales are. Listing is pre-contract. So I'm going to close and archive my files over here. So I'm going to click on Manage Transaction. This is sort of the same as our listing side, where we can single click to open this up. The tabs are pretty similar to the listing side, except obviously it says transaction instead of listing. And we have an additional commission tab here. So this is how we can make sure everyone's really getting paid correctly. Back on the transaction tab, how I'm going to close this file is by hitting Escrow Now Closed. So I'm going to select Escrow Now Closed when this file needs to close, and I get this little pop-up. Here's where I can select the closing date. Now, if everything were 100% reviewed, it was good to go, it wasn't missing anything, it was reviewed and approved, I can go ahead and toggle this Archive File button over and close the file. What this is going to do is complete step 2 and 3 for us. It's going to close the file and archive it at the same time. Now, sometimes people want to close their files, but they're not quite ready to archive it yet. This may be because it's missing some documents, maybe we're waiting on a final HUD, something like that. So if we want to close it, but we don't want to archive it, you can still hit Escrow Now Closed. Just don't toggle the Archive File button over, and then you'll hit Close File. Now that takes us back to Manage Transactions, but we're now, if we scroll down the page, that file now lives in Closed Transactions to be archived. So anything that lives here has a closed escrow status, but is still missing some items. So once those documents are turned in, we can just click on the Archive Transaction button right here. So I'll click on this and I'll submit it. And now that file is archived. So again, if you missed that, this button right here, Close Transactions to be archived. This button right here is how I will archive a transaction after I've already closed it. So I can either close and archive at the same time, or I can close it first and then come back into Manage Transactions, scroll down the page, and archive it later on when I'm ready. Any canceled files that the agents have canceled will live here. So anytime an agent cancels a file, it kind of lives in this in limbo area where you can just click on it and approve of the cancellation. We don't allow the agents access to fully cancel a file because oftentimes they'll mistakenly do that or something like that. Also, oftentimes you need cancellation paperwork and other things in order to fully approve this cancellation. Okay, so that's the 3 main things as the admin are responsible for. Now we're going to kind of cover tips and tricks. So again, any questions that you have, use that Q&A. Okay, so we talked about Manage Transactions. I can see everybody's transactions. I can sort by a specific visibility if I want. I'm going to click into the file and hit Escrow Now Closed to close it. And then if I didn't archive it, I can just scroll down the page and archive it retroactively right here. All right, so that's it for Manage Transactions. So I'm going to go back home and kind of go over what we've talked about so far. So I talked about Manage Listings. That's over on this side. This is where our pre-contract files live. Manage Transactions is where all of our in-contract files live. So whether it started as a listing and then kicked over to a transaction when we got a buyer, or maybe it just has always been a transaction because we were representing the buyer. This is where we will be closing and archiving our files. Documents to Review is where we will be reviewing our files, whether they're listings or transactions, for compliance. And we'll do that by clicking on Documents to Review and clicking into Quick Audit. Quick Audit is the button we want to get into. Anything that has been fully canceled and approved will live over here in Canceled Contracts. So again, nothing deletes or goes away in SkySlope. it just moves somewhere else. So canceled contracts we can think of as sort of our file graveyard. Access archives is more of our trophy case. So once we fully archive a file after it's been closed, it lives right here. So I'm going to click into this. The reason that I want to archive files is because when a file is fully archived, I can download it in its entirety. So I can download checklist documents if I want to send those out to my clients. This just downloads the documents assigned to the checklist. If there were any sort of discrepancies or litigation, or I'm going through an audit, then I want to download all documents, which includes that log tab, which remember is date and time stamped. And it includes the property tab. It includes everything on the checklist, everything in the documents. So it really is the whole entire file versus just the checklist documents. So once it's archived, I can come in here and download it in its entirety. It'll give me a zip file for this whole entire property file rather than going, document by document and downloading it. So that's really the benefit of archiving files. All right, so going back home, I'm just going to kind of circle around the dashboard here. Incomplete checklist is, I'm not going to really click on this. This is more for the agents to see what's still incomplete and what they still need to work on. You guys can click on this, but it might be a little overwhelming since you see everybody's files. There's going to be a lot of files here. Tasks and reminders, I'm not going to go too heavily into today, but you can set up reoccurring tasks and task lists here that you can use over and over and over again. And we have really great tutorials on that. You can go ahead and click on the support icon and type in tasks and reminders, and you'll find a bunch of tutorials on that. Now, working documents, I am going to get into a little bit. So I'm going to click on working documents here. This is working documents as a whole. You can think of as everything that I'm working on before I actually get to a transaction or a listing. So clicking on this, the first tab I see is the office inbox. This is turned on a case-by-case basis. And this is just a centralized inbox for the admin team where the agents can send documents in. We can't review documents here. So people will turn this on sometimes, let's say if they want to store rejected offers, they don't need to review them, they just need a place to store them. We can turn on the office inbox in that case. Personal documents is a completely private storage area for every single user. So every single user, TC, agent, yourself, whomever, has their own personal docs, and only they have visibility into what goes on here. We can create folders over here and upload documents sort of before we have a property to keep everything organized. And then once we have a property, we can go ahead and assign our documents to that property. Office documents. This is visible to everyone. So personal docs is only visible to the user that's logged in. Office docs is visible to everyone in the brokerage. So if we have any forms that aren't available in our MLS, aren't available in our forms provider, then we'll want to put them here in Office Docs. So if we have like a very brokerage specific form, we can upload it here in Office Docs, and the agents can come in and sort of grab a copy of that. Rejected offers is just a subfolder of the Office inbox. So if we turn the Office inbox on, you'll also see the rejected offers tab. Alrighty, going back to the platform. Again, just kind of circling around the dashboard here. DigiSign is our digital signature tool. This is fully integrated within SkySlope. And again, we go more in depth on DigiSign within our agent training. So just for purposes of not overwhelming you with information, I'm not going to go into DigiSign, but just know that this is SkySlope's digital signature tool. It is fully accessible throughout the system. Anything you send out through DigiSign comes straight back into SkySlope, so it is really useful. And it comes, with SkySlope. So it's not like a separate system or anything like that. Some people think it's two separate systems. It's not, it's within SkySlope. Okay, so now that we've come full circle on our dashboard, we talked about anything we cancel lives here. Any pre-contract, pre-buyer files live here. Once we get a buyer, that's over here in Manage Transactions. We're reviewing our documents here. Incomplete checklist is where everything that's still incomplete will show up. Access Archives is where all of our archived files will live, where we can download them in their entirety in case of an audit, or if we just want to be nice and send those out to our clients. Tasks and Reminders is where we can set up reoccurring tasks for ourselves or others. This is more action item based. Working Documents is where we can store documents for either that are brokerage specific forms, or if we want to just play around within personal documents and upload some things there before we actually get up here. And then DigiSign is, again, SkySlope's digital signature tool, fully integrated throughout the platform. Now there's a couple other sections that are actually hiding that I'm going to show you now, and then we'll kind of get to any questions. So if I click on my name here, I just clicked on my name, I'll see these two sections pop up. So the first section is my account. So I'm going to click on this. I have a bunch of different tabs here, but the one I want to focus on is notifications. So this is a great area to set up personal notifications. Or if I have the master account, I can set up company-wide notifications. So this will affect everyone in the company, these notifications right here. So for example, if I want every single agent to get an email maybe 5 days before their listing expiration date, I can come into notifications and toggle on this company-wide notification. If I want agents to get a summary of their remaining required documents when their transaction closes, I can again toggle that on. If I want them to get an email from SkySlope 5 days before their transaction closing date, again, just toggle that on and it'll affect everyone. These notifications over here, so listing, transaction, dead transactions, and tasks, these are all specific to your user. So whoever's logging in can set up their own notifications. So if I'm an admin, maybe I want to get an email if the list date or the expiration date changes, because I'm going to know, oh, I might need a contract extension, right? I might also want to get an email when a document has been submitted for review. That way I know, okay, it's time to go into SkySlope. There's things to review. So certain things here, I can set up notifications for myself, versus if I had the master account, I can set up notifications for everybody, whether they like it or not. All right, now clicking on my name again, I was just in the My Account section. Now I'm going to show you guys this admin section. So this is where your checklists actually are created, is within Manage Checklists. So if you're ever wondering where those pull from, they pull from right here. Checklist is a little bit, it's not the most intuitive, so I would say this is more of an advanced training. I wouldn't head straight to editing the checklists right off the bat. I would get used to SkySlope first and then kind of get into that. Manage agents is really important. This is where I'm going to see all of my active and deactivated users that have ever had SkySlope before. So if I need to add a user, I can just go ahead and hit Create Agent. This really should say Create User, because I can create any user with this. So I can create agent, I'll type in their first name and their last name and select, are they an admin, so they get auditor level access? Are they an agent? Or are they a TC, meaning they can create files for themselves and others, but they can't review? That's what TC access is. What's their email? And then what office are they in? If the agent works with a TC, we want to allow TC access and then just hit save. And that person will automatically get an email from SkySlope. It'll say, hey, welcome to SkySlope. Here's your link to log in. So again, I hit create agent, answer all the information, and hit save. Now, if I ever want to deactivate an agent or any user, let's say somebody leaves the brokerage and we no longer want them to have access to SkySlope, I'll come in here to manage agents. Let's say, Adam Levine has left the brokerage. I'll go ahead and click on Adam. This opens up some information on his account. And then at the very bottom, I want to deactivate him as a user. So I'll toggle that on and I'm going to hit save. And it's going to say, are you sure? Do you really want to deactivate Adam? Yes, I do. So I'm going to deactivate Adam. I can always reactivate him later on if I want, if he comes back. I can also filter. So the status here is going to show me, do I want to just see my active users? So people who have not been deactivated. Do I want to see who has been deactivated? Or do I want to just see everybody, active users and inactive users? You can also, if you ever want to be a little bit of a spy, you can click on last access date right here. And this will show you the last time that everybody logged in. If there's nothing next to their name, like right here, see how there's nothing? That just means that they've never logged in. So again, manage agents is going to show us a list of every single user in the system. If I don't see that user on the list, it might be that that particular person has the master account. So only one person can have the master account. It's very similar to having an admin level account. The only difference is that the person with the master account can do certain things like add an office. So if you don't see someone that you know is on your team on this list right here, it's most likely that they have the master account. And the good news is the master account actually doesn't count towards the licenses that you pay for. So let's say I pay for 20 people, 25 people. The master account does not count as one of the 25 people that I pay for. Okay, so I showed you guys how we can deactivate people. I showed you how we can set notifications in my account, deactivate by going to admin and then manage agents. So now I want to go over any questions that you guys have and sort of recap. We did a recap of what we covered. So really that's it for today's training. Our next steps here are going to be to, once we have access, start upload current listings. We want to also schedule agent training next for the agents and probably for ourselves so we can see that side of the platform. And if we have any documents that need to be uploaded to the Office Docs, we also want to determine that. Now, any questions, please use that Q&A and I will get to those now. If you don't have any questions, you are free to leave. Happy SkySloping. We'll follow up with you in an email after today. And again, if you have any questions, stick around and use the Q&A feature and I will get to those now. But if you don't, you're free to leave and enjoy the rest of your day.